Hey, well, firstly, can I just say kia ora and welcome to the National Party campaign launch. I think it's been a very positive launch. I hope the message is really clear that we think we have a fantastic country, but we have lost our way and we need to get the country back on track. And the way that we start doing that is we rebuild our economy, we restore law and order, and we deliver better health and education. And with that, happy to take your questions. Sorry.
That feels like a very old-fashioned thing to be using.
Well, I think it's a really important thing. I think New Zealanders are confused as to what we're trying to do in government, and I want my government to be crystal clear about what I'm asking them to deliver. I want the public service to know very clearly what we're shooting for, and I want New Zealanders to understand the priorities of the government. And I think it's quite a good way to actually lay it out really clearly about what our focus and what our priorities will be, and it will actually focus everybody to say together we can do so much better than we are on these things.
And just to be clear, is it a little card that you're going to go and hand out?
You are going to get one, Jessica, I promise you. It'll look like this with all of the pledges on the back. And for me, that's a really good way for us to actually focus and actually say to New Zealand, after a period of going off track, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to commit to do, and these will be the priorities. And imagine what it feels like when we start making progress on these 8 things. It'll feel pretty good.
No worse being new policy today. Was that a missed opportunity?
No, not at all. We've had 37 or 38 policies, as you well know. We had our big tax policy plan announcement in the middle of the week. We've had a series around law and order. We've had a series around health, around nurses, around doctors, around medical schools, around cancer treatments. We've had a series around education, around teaching the basics brilliantly. So we will continue to have more policy as we go through the campaign, but I'm very proud of what we've got, and I wanted to pull it all together today to actually give it some structure and to give people a sense of actually how it all comes together. Absolutely not out of ideas. We have come through this incredibly well. We have gone from the beginning of the year, as you know, most weeks announcing practical, common sense ideas about how we take the country forward, and we'll continue to do so.
It was a very glitz.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was a great energy, and I think across our regional conferences and other meetings that we've already had, our people are fired up, and they are really excited to get out there and actually take the case to the New Zealand people. I think you can see that when you drive around the country and you see the commitments around signs. We've got enthusiasm happening in places that we previously haven't seen before. We've got lots of signs happening in big red seats, for example, that we previously haven't seen before. We've got a great reaction out door knocking. We've got a fantastic set of candidates who have been door knocking now for months and months and months, and so I think we're making our case really strongly. Yeah, they could. Back on track. Get New Zealand back on track. Everyone understood that very well.
It was a very glitzy, big event with videos and then an announcer with all your candidates. And where did you draw inspiration from that from? It felt very Republican Congress-esque.
I love the way you project onto this. But no, it was just us saying we want to make sure we've got a professional event, and we want everyone ready to go and crystal clear about what we're here to do.
What was the thinking about including your children?
Sorry, guys.
Is the fact that you kept Visions New Zealand out, is that a good sign for your law and order credentials?
Well, look, as we say, we're in a liberal democracy. We expect people to be able to protest. I think we had a lot of protesters outside, but we took necessary precautions given events that we've seen over recent weeks. And so, this is we support free speech, but I think it also needs to be respectful, and it was good to see that today.
Did you go so big
Sorry,
and
Jane.
Did you go so big and bold?
Sorry, Jane. Well, we just made sure we had sufficient security on board. We made sure that we had a very good registration process, which we set up weeks ago, as people came to register for the launch today. And we just made sure all that worked.
National's got quite a war chest of funds that it's managed to raise. Will you be using any of that money to hire extra private security over and above what you've already been provided by the diplomatic?
Well, look, in recent months, to be honest, there have been moments when we have engaged private security firms for different events that I've been participating in. And we will make sure that everyone is safe. But I have to say, I've now done a number of these back on track tours. I've spoken to tens of thousands of New Zealanders, I think over 10,000 New Zealanders at those events themselves, and I've never felt unsafe. So I've never felt unsafe. I do, as of today, as my first day, and so it's been fantastic, and they do a fantastic and amazing job. But what I'm saying to you is I've been out there actually for the last 6 months or so into most towns across New Zealand. I've spoken to in excess of 10 or 11,000 people, and I haven't felt unsafe at all. So people, I think, have been respectful. Yes, there's been some robust conversation at times, but that's what you'd expect in a democracy.
Only you get DPS. Have you been using any of your money to hire private security for your other MPs?
Not at this stage, but we're comfortable doing so if we feel there's a threat and there's a need to do so.
Did you consider launching a policy today, because it did feel like a lot of hype in the lead up to your speech and then a push card?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We decided we wanted to bring it all together because we're very conscious that I think we've launched something like 37, 38 policies. And we wanted to bring it together and actually give people some coherence of how it all hangs together. And I think that's what the country's missing right now. We need to turn the country around. And in a turnaround situation, people need to be crystal clear about what we're trying to achieve and what is the absolute bedrock commitments that we're making and we're going to work together on resolving. And that's what I want New Zealanders to understand. I want them all ultimately to understand in government, these are the 8 priorities for the next 3 years that we're going to focus on really getting improved outcomes on.
And was it your decision to have your children introduce you?
It was just, it was. I was quite comfortable with them doing it, given it was Father's Day, and there was a lot of dads that had sacrificed a lot of time away from their families in order to come to the event today, and I thought it was entirely appropriate to recognise Father's Day.
Do you worry about having your children as part of this campaign, given the campaign is already quite divisive?
Yeah, well, the kids won't be involved in the campaign per se, but I think at a National Party conference where, to be able to introduce their dad on Father's Day, that's entirely appropriate.
Given the weight of criticism from a variety of professional people about the 15% tax surcharge on foreign buyers, and specifically the technical objections to the fact that it doesn't comply with many of our double taxation agreements, what are you going to do about that, and when are you going to revise your estimates?
Well, the first thing is I'm not taking any lectures from a Labor Party that's run the economy into the ground, and so,
Michael Riddell, all sorts of people.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying to you really clearly, I am rock solid and confident in our assumptions around our plan for our tax plan, and I would just say to you, we've had independent advice, we've validated it, and I appreciate the other side want to play that game. That's an easy game for them to go to, but we are rock solid on our numbers and our plan.
Any of the double taxation agreements which specifically exclude discriminating against people on the grounds of nationality?
And that's why we've had independent legal advice to say that we can navigate those agreements and also be able to introduce a foreign buyer's tax. Sorry, Jane. And we've had independent legal advice to say that we think there's a way through all of that, so that we can actually, we think we can implement it, and we will implement it. Well, we've been really clear. We've had a good set of an external assessment on all of our tax plan. We've gone and got independent legal advice, which Todd McClay and others have participated in securing that advice over the last few weeks and months, and we are very confident that we can implement a foreign buyer's tax ban. And I just say to you, why is it so important? I don't have that detail in front of me now, but I can tell you we've had the independent advice and I'm very confident about it. And no disrespect, I'm not taking any lectures from Grant Robertson or anyone on the other side about trying to say that there's holes in our plan, because there isn't. It's rock solid. I know the detail. I mean,
These are tax experts who know international law, and they say that tax will breach international law. And your advice...
And we have different experts. We have different experts and different advice, and I am very confident in our numbers, and I'm saying to you right now, many other countries around the world do this. It's quite normal. It's done in many other places. What I'd say to you is also it's important that we can attract foreign direct investment to New Zealand. And when you have a tech entrepreneur sitting in San Francisco who actually wants to buy a house in Queenstown and invest in a New Zealand business, and we are the most restrictive country in the world on foreign direct investment in the developed world, actually being able to open up ability for foreigners to buy houses, but to do so with a $2 million threshold when the average house price is $900,000 in New Zealand, to do so that you pay a 15% tax so that you don't speculate. That's all good common sense approach to actually making sure that we can do that.
Which countries are you...
Sorry, Jane.
Standing here today, but you're unable to say how you would get around that tax treaty issue.
We have independent, full advice about how we actually can implement the foreign buyer tax. And I appreciate there will be a range of opinions around that, but from our point of view, we are incredibly comfortable about that. Sorry, Jessica. What I can tell you is that we are very comfortable in our plan. We are very comfortable in our numbers. We have had them validated. We have had expert and independent advice, and we are very comfortable with what we've got. Right, sorry, Joe.
Do you have any plans in your first term of government, if in government, around free dental care for universally for all, or at least some steps towards it?
Yeah, look, I mean, we would love to expand dental care across healthcare in New Zealand. We think that would be fantastic. But the reality is this, is that we can't do the basics well in healthcare at the moment. We are 4,500 nurses short, we're 1,700 doctors short. And so the reality of it is that we actually need to focus on the must-do stuff first, and that is actually some higher priority needs. And so that's what we'll focus on. What I'd say around dental, though, is I'm highly sceptical of this government's ability to implement it. If you remember in the 2020 election, and hold them to account, they said that they'd go do 20 mobile dental clinics, and none of it has happened. And you just go back and look at the comments from Chris Hipkins and Jacinda Ardern very recently saying the economic conditions are not right. Well, the economic conditions have got worse. So I'm really sceptical of their ability to deliver it. Yes, we would like to expand it, but the way we get to do that is we have to build a stronger economy and then solve some fundamental problems in our healthcare system at the moment.
It's a capacity issue, right? So are you then going to take some steps in a potential first-term government to actually build the capacity? Because if you don't get on top of that, universal free dental care is literally decades and decades away.
Well, that's the issue. The issue is we need to build a stronger economy so that we can actually afford more dental care and widen dental care. We're going to take steps to build a stronger economy, which is what we're doing here, so that we can invest in our public services. And as you've heard Chris Hipkins and Jacinda Ardern say, everyone would like to do it, but the reality is, as they said, they can't do it with the economic conditions as they are.
Clear answer on that, though. Are you going to take steps if in government to deal with the capacity issue and get more dentists trained or bring more dentists into the country?
We'll have more to say on our health policy before the election, but what we've already committed to, as you can see, is to grow a homegrown workforce for healthcare. That comes with the 2,000 nurses, with the 5-year bonding program. We take 22,500 off their student loan. It comes with us opening up 100 more places at Otago and Auckland medical schools, and another 120 with a third medical school opening at Waikato. So we are very invested in growing our homegrown talent across the health workforce, and there is more to do. Think about psychologists, think about psychiatric support, a whole bunch of specialist appointments. And we will continue to look at what we can do about growing the dentists as well. But for right now, I want everyone to understand this is a country that has some major economic challenges. And so you have to be really clear on the must-do stuff. And when you've got 4,500 nurses short, and you've got a huge amount of the workforce actually due to retire in the next 7 years, those are the things that we're going to be focused on.
Should be on the same level as all other
We would love to expand dental care, as I've said before, but we have to build a stronger economy in order to build better quality public services. Sorry.
I would have quite liked you to have gone out and met with them. I suspect you know the answer, but did you consider going to talk to Brian?
No, I've got no time for that at all.
Well, he said that he would work in a coalition with New Zealand First. Is that enough for you to now rule out New Zealand First?
What I'd say to you, and the message was really clear today, is that if you want to change the government and you want a guaranteed change and you want a strong national-led government, it is to party vote national. All right, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate your time. Take care. Thanks. Sorry, Simon. Last question. Simon, sorry, Jen, I'm going to go to Simon because... Sorry, Jen, I'm going to go to Simon because he hasn't had a chance to ask a question.
Two separate pieces of advice regarding tax treaties and trade agreements.
We have independent expert advice on how we can implement the 15% foreign buyer ban, given our obligations internationally. With that, Simon, your question? Sorry, Simon, you go.
Thank you, Mr. Luxon. Pledge 8 is a carbon zero by 2050.
Yes.
You rule out making a pledge to relate to 2030 or 2035, something you could actually will actually impact?
Yeah, well, our commitment that we signed New Zealand up for in 2015 in Paris was actually net carbon zero 2050, and that is something we are deeply, deeply committed to. Obviously, there's milestones along the way, but what we need to do is actually get plans in place and action in place, and that means two things. One is making sure we have renewable electricity. We want to double it. We want it to be abundant. We want it to be cheap so we can make the transition. And on the other side, we need to make sure that we've got a pathway to deal with agricultural emissions, which is using technology and tools, making sure farmers get credit for all the good stuff they're doing, and only then by 2030 introducing agricultural pricing. Okay, guys, thanks so much. Appreciate your time.